Hello, my name is Jawad Saadi and I'm the Managing Director of Hexatronic Security and Surveillance. I will be the host of today. I welcome you all. I am looking at the participation list and I thank you all for taking the time and joining us. Today we're going to speak about the InOne solution and the integration that we have done with the Korenix switches coming from the Beijer group. And let me start by introducing my colleagues in today's presentation. I'll ask each one of them to introduce themselves. Rico, can you please start?
Of course. Thanks, Jawad. So my name is Rico. I'm the product specialist for the data communication devices for Beijer Electronics. I'm stationed in Malmö.
Yeah, Peter.
Peter.
Thank you, Jawad. My name is Peter Edin. I'm a technical sales engineer at Beijer Electronics, stationed in Stockholm, Sweden.
Excellent. Jan.
And I'm Jan Hellgren, working as Business Development Manager for the InOne solution here at the Hexatronic in Nacka, Stockholm.
Yes. Thank you for being with us. Please stay tuned. I'm going to come back to you. Now we're going to start with the introduction of the InOne solution. I'm going to go through some slides presenting the InOne solution. Then we're going to have a quick demo. We have built up this product studio here in Stockholm, in Nacka, for the online webinar in this new reality that we're living in. And after that, I'm going to show you a quick customer reference. And then we're going to move to the presentations by Peter, Rico, and in the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. Please feel free to put in your questions in the Zoom Q&A part at any time during the presentation, but we'll answer all the questions in the end. So without any further ado, let me start with the presentations. All right, the InOne solution, this is the name of the solution that we're going to talk about today. But first of all, let me talk to you a little bit about the Hexatronic Group. The Hexatronic Group is a group of companies that is based in Sweden. Most of the companies, or all of the companies, have a kind of business with fiber optics technology. The company that I'm responsible for, we're doing power and fiber. There are many companies that have been acquired throughout the years. So now we're a group. Our factory is in Hudiksvall, Sweden. And the background of the InOne solution, why did we have the InOne solution? As you all know, every one of you that is working with industrial switches, you're extremely familiar with PoE. And PoE have served us fantastically, having power with the Ethernet. The difficulty with the PoE that it has a distance limitation of 100 meters. Even with PoE extenders, you can go for several hundred meters, but you cannot go to kilometers. Being a fiber company and used to pushing data over long kilometers, we have came up with this InOne solution a few years back that combines both power and fiber in one system. So we're able to extend industrial switches and therefore PoE over several kilometers. And I'm going to come into more details about this presentation, that how we actually achieve that. The InOne solution, in the core of the InOne solution, is the hybrid cable. It's a cable like this, and we're going to show it more and more. This is the type of cable, and this is a hybrid cable, so it has both the power and the fiber. And this is, I mean, the cable is quite compact, so it can be blown with air compressors in blown ducts like this one. This is these compact direct burial ducts. And it's an extremely efficient solution when it comes to deployment. The InOne can be distributed over a network. It could be a city network, or for example, if it's a security project, it could be a perimeter security, and it is independent of the application. A lot of our customers, they use the InOne for CCTV. That's I think a little bit more than half of our applications, but we have other customers that is using them to connect radio base stations or any sensor or any device that is connected to an industrial switch. In the data center, we start with what we call the hybrid distribution node. In the hybrid distribution node, we have a voltage rectifier that we convert AC to DC. And the beauty of the solution, because we are using DC power, we're able to use compact cables, and the DC is much less regulated than AC deployment. And this is why we can use we can make the implementation in such an efficient way. The DC voltage that we are using is 110 volts DC, and that's the recommendation of the European safety standards. So it is 110 volts, 10 amps. After we convert the AC to DC, we enter the fiber into what we call a hybrid ODF. We join it with the power, and then we go out with a single cable combining both the power and the fiber. The InOne cabinet itself can comprise of different types of switches, but in the demo we're going to speak a little bit more about that. The cables, we have different sizes of cables. So there is like this kind of cable. This is a new cable. It's quite big. We have smaller cable, and the size of the cable is actually the fiber count and the diameter of the copper. So how many the fiber is how many fibers do you need? So we have different fiber counts, and the diameter of the copper determines on how far we can go in the distance and how much power we can carry on the cable. Being part of the Hexatronic group, that we rely on our wider portfolio, and we have different kind of ducts. These cables are made to be installed inside ducts, so they can be installed in your traditional duct, but we also have a quite compact duct that you can blow the cable inside these ducts. And these ducts, we have good variation. I can show you some samples here of these ducts. As I showed, this is like a single duct, but we can have multiple duct assembly. So this is a 4-way duct. It could be 7-way or 2-way. We have this one. This is for aerial deployments. So if you're deploying the ducts from pole to pole aerial, you can use this duct. So it has a suspension tensioning member, and it has the duct where you can have the cable inside. We also have some underwater installations. So we have this armored duct that can be installed underwater. So we have different variations of the ducts. And this is something that is really good, because instead of varying the cable, we vary the duct based on the type of implementation. This is also a great advantage of the InOne solution, that regardless if your network topology is a bus topology, a star topology, we can follow any network topology. So we do not dictate the type of topology you must have. Maybe the network partly exists, or it's a greenfield project where you need to build a new network. Do whatever suits you best in terms of civil work, and the InOne will follow that. But the extra advantage, if you're using a ring topology, that usually in fiber networks you do a ring to create redundancy, but with the InOne solution we can also create redundancy for both the fiber and the power. So if there is a cable cut at any point, we can feed the fiber and the power from the other side of the ring. And that is something, for example, if it's AC power, you can never do a ring network in an AC power, the advantage of using DC. And in many of the applications, most of the customers that we are working with have a critical application. So redundancy, and there is different types of redundancy, is something that is extremely important to them. We have also made a calculation tool to calculate all the cable losses and the loads, so you can know how the maximum distances that you can reach. In brief, it's a power budget. So you start with 110 volts DC, then you have some voltage drop on the cable, and then you connect your industrial switch. It takes like 5 watts of power. Then you connect your devices, maybe they're PoE, PoE++, depending on the devices. So to calculate everything, the distances, the losses, the amount of equipment, the loads, we have made it easy. So you don't need to go to a consultant to make all these calculations. We have done a piece of software that we help you with the design, and we offer design services as well. And for the partners, the ones that would like to partner with us, they can also get access to that software. This is an interesting slide that I would like to show. The example is for CCTV, but it can apply to any application. If you have a network, and we look at it now from a turnkey point of view, the whole project, and you're deploying a network, you see that more than half of the cost will be the infrastructure, which is the civil work, the excavation, reinstatement, the ducts, and the cables. And then on top of that, you have some network component for the edge switches. Then your devices, if they are IoT devices or they are IP cameras, CCTV cameras, and then you have a software on top of that. If you implement the InOne, you do not need to have 2 different civil networks, one for the power and one for the fiber. You can combine them both in one and use the hybrid cable. So that's immediately, from a civil work perspective, that's 50% saving on the civil work. Also, there are other savings, because if it's a compact cable and compact duct, we use micro trenching. So we have like over than 12 saving points with using the InOne. This graph that I'm showing you, we have averaged some of our projects, and so the percentages are quite accurate. Savings can be more in countries that the labor cost is more expensive. Then the saving difference will be a little bit larger. But the point is, whether you take our word for it about this graph or not, bring us your project, let's do a preliminary design, and we will make the calculation, and you will decide if it applies in your case or not. So what are the benefits, a summary of the benefits for the InOne solution? First, we have very big claims about the savings. We claim 50 to 70%, and we have proved it over and over again, and we're happy to work with you on your projects. Speed of deployment, because it is one civil network, because we are using these micro cables, and we're using the micro ducts, and we're using micro trenching, then the speed of deployment goes extremely faster than a traditional infrastructure, because you're not deploying AC network, you don't need the permits for the AC cables, and you don't need the specialized subcontractors for the AC cable. This whole network can be done by telecom engineers. This might vary from a country to other, but in general it can be done by telecom engineers. Then there are 2 points, security and redundancy. Security is an important thing. If you have a critical application, and most of our customers are having a critical application, sometimes it is not that they don't have power. They do have power, but it is not their power. Maybe the power is shared for the lights. And that's not good if you have a CCTV or a kind of monitoring network or in industrial applications. So you want to have your own power. You want to have secure power. You want to control power. And if you're going to deploy fiber anyway, why don't you as well deploy the InOne cable? I mean, the difference, do I have an example here of a pure fiber cable? Yes, I do. So this is a fiber cable, so it's not much difference between this one and the InOne cable. And then you have both the power and the fiber in one network. Then redundancy. Redundancy is achieved in different ways. First, we talk about in a ring topology, you can have redundancy against cable cuts. But also, when I show you the demo, that you can put a UPS in the data center, so you have redundancy against power failure. So you have no need to put expensive UPSs out in the cabinets, in the access cabinets, and you will have also redundancy for power failure. Last but not least is the flexibility. Flexibility, because we follow any network topology, so we're quite flexible, and this helps you that in future expansions, if you have a ring topology but you want to branch out from it, you can do that. This concludes this part of the presentation. Now I'm gonna very quickly tell you a little bit our roadmap. I'm not gonna go into details. We have a new cable that will double the distances, and I have shown you the example of that. And we're going to provide more power in the cabinets. So if you have larger switches and you have more port density with PoE++, we will be able to support that. Another direction we're going is ruggedized, intrinsic safe, explosion proof. We're also going in that direction. So what applications can you use the InOne for? We talked about CCTV, and this is the most typical application that you get. Also, we get many customers that want to use the InOne for public Wi-Fi access points. And I mean, the InOne can be used for multiple applications, and we have many customers that is using it for security, public Wi-Fi, and also other applications. If we talk about IoT, then there are no limits. You can have many IoT applications. Some of the IoT sensors are battery operated and radio connected, but customers are using InOne for LoRa base stations, different types of radio base stations, but also in different types of IoT applications. Also, fiber to the home providers, they're using the InOne in combination. Service providers, they're using along their FTTH network and providing powered PoE ports. So now we are bidding on a project that they're using. It's a fiber to the home, but they also are providing. They're using the Korenix industrial switches, and they provide to the municipalities in public places powered port as a service. And then they connect all the ports on a VLAN. So that's also an interesting concept for some of the service providers. This is an example that I would like to show you. This is one of our customers in Norway. It's a salmon fish farm, and they're using the underwater duct and the InOne cable to connect the floats, the fish farms, to some devices, communication devices that are on land. So another interesting application. We get lots of, in the beginning, we thought that customers would consider either solar or InOne, but we have received 2 customer cases and we have worked with them. And in one of the customers, they were totally off-grid, so there was no AC power source, so they needed to do solar. But what they have done, you can see the graph in the bottom, that on every pole they had a camera, they have a radio unit, they had a solar cell, and a UPS or a kind of a battery and charging system. So what we are working with the customer, that we consolidate all these equipments so they have only one radio link, one centralized UPS, one centralized solar cells, and then they use the InOne for distribution. So in the beginning, we thought that there is no mix between it's either or, InOne or solar. But in this case, and we have the initial calculations, there is significant savings. So we're waiting for the technical approvals from the customer. But it's quite an interesting case that if you're totally off-grid or you're using solar, you want to minimize the number of solar cells that you are using because you minimize the points of service and the points of failure. So this concludes the slides. Let me go to the main camera, and now I'm gonna quickly And if you have any questions, please post in the questions. I'm going to show you the product. I'm not going to go into much details, but just a quick one. In the data center, this is what we have. I mentioned about the UPS. You can have the UPS inside your data center, so there is no need that you put UPSs out in the cabinets. Then we convert, we have here a voltage regulator, and we're converting AC to DC. We have the DC output here, and we bring in the DC to a device, we call it the hybrid ODF, where we combine the fiber from the core network and the DC power to put it on one cable. And to give you a better view, this is how the hybrid ODF looks like. So the DC power is coming from here, the fiber is coming from here, and then we combine both of them and we exit here from the InOne cable. So the InOne cables are exiting now the data center, and they're going in these ducts. In this example, I have them laying on the walls. And then let's go to the other side. And this could be 2 kilometers. This could be different depending on the distances that you have. We have here the InOne cabinet, and we call it the hybrid access node. And this is where you have your industrial switches. So let me open it. These cabinets are made of cast aluminum, so everything inside the cabinet is industrial grade. So we use the cabinet itself for all heat dissipation. So this is the cabinet, and you can see here, this is the incoming InOne cable. If it's a bus topology or a star topology, in this case I have 2 cables going out connecting the other cabinet. This is a smaller cabinet. Let me get you a little bit closer so you see this better. So we have the incoming cable, and now it's time to split the power and the fiber. The power is feeding this board. There is a protection circuit, and behind this plate there is a voltage regulator, DC to DC voltage regulator. Why we have a voltage regulator? Because maybe the voltage here, we started, if you remember, with 110 volts. Maybe we arrived here with 96 volts. These industrial switches will work on 48 volts regulated. So we regulate the voltage. We have 48 volts coming into the switch. And then the incoming voltage, which if it was 96, then it's going out with the other cables. So in each cabinet, we have the voltage regulation inside the cabinet. So this is about the power. Then we take the fiber, we loop the fiber, and we have fed the power to the switch. Now we're feeding the fiber. In this case, we have a 6-port switch from Korenix, and Rico will speak more about it. We have looped the fiber, so we have 2 SFPs with the fiber going in and going out. We use the pigtail and a patch cord just to show you the color difference. I have 2 devices here connected on Cat6 cables. In the lab here, I have one of our studio cameras, and we have a public Wi-Fi access point that is connected to this device. Next to it is a smaller cabinet with a smaller form factor. Functionally, it is 100% identical. It's a smaller form factor, so it can fit a media converter or a small switch. While in this cabinet, we were able to fit bigger switches like this one from Korenix. It's much bigger than the one that is inside, so we've been able to fit that one. All right, let me go very fast to the customer project, and then I'll move to the gentleman from Beijer. All right. This is a project called ILA. I'm going to go super fast on these slides. It's a multi-purpose site on the Red Sea. It's the perimeter of the project is extremely sensitive from a security point of view, because it's bordering the international border between Jordan and Israel, but also the other side we have the city airport, And so it's from a security point of view, it was extremely important project. So what we have done a perimeter security. In phase 2, we started also doing inside the project. This is the design that we have done. This is a single line diagram. If you see, there are 11 systems that are 11 InOne systems. I think this is how the cabinet is installed on a pole with the cameras. And these are the customer perspective, what they wanted. They were cost conscious, they wanted speed of deployment, and they wanted minimum disruption to the infrastructure. And we've been able to achieve that. This is a slide that what we have added in terms of systems. It was 9 InOne systems, 48 cabinets. I think it was over 120 cameras in phase 1. And the year after, they have installed 20, I think, more cameras. But what's also important, what we have taken away all Severn network for the AC cables, and that's a huge, huge saving. Lots of accessories also goes with that. So, just to gain some time, now I go back and to the gentleman. So Rico and Peter, you're still with us?
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Great.
So Peter, I'm gonna switch to you now, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Javad. I wish that my presentation was as interesting as yours, but I shall cover my part quickly so we get to Rico's interesting part. So I just back up a little bit and see if we can see that one. So, as I told before, my name is Peter Edin. I'm a technical sales engineer from Beijer Electronics. I'm stationed here in Sweden, Stockholm, most of the times. With me today is also my colleague, Rico Lim, who is a product specialist. He is usually located in Sweden, Malmö, but right now we have deported him to Singapore. But he's hopefully coming back quite soon. So let's change that one. So the contents of our part is that I will talk a little bit on how Beijer Electronics and Korenix work together as being more or less one company. Rico will handle Korenix quality control and service, value-adding features, and product highlights. So if I come to this one, Beijer Electronics, I hope people have heard of us before. We are a Swedish technology company founded in 1981, part of the Beijer Group. A little bit confusing being Beijer Electronics and the Beijer Group, but that's what you get when you have imagination with names. We are a complete system provider, solution provider as well, within the automation, digitalization and communication. And being part of this webinar is a little bit both in our digitalization part and in our communication part. Korenix is also a Beijer Group company. It was founded in 2004. Asking them, of course, they say they are a global leading manufacturer, and I think so as well. They have really good products, and I am happy to be one of those who can sell them in Sweden. The last years, we have actually deepened our cooperation or partnership between Beijer and Korenix. So now the Korenix EMEA storage is located in Malmö. That's also located in Malmö, once not deported to Singapore, of course. And we also have dedicated salespeople for communication solutions, me being one of them, hopefully. So I shall not take up your time so much more, so I leave this to Rico to take over.
Rico, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for deporting me here, I guess. But I'm here on my own accord. I'm back here for a while. So a little bit of change to the flow of the slide, we are actually going to talk about the products first after the part where we talk about Korenix's quality control and service. So the last 2 points are actually slightly inverted in this case. So moving forward, as Peter already mentioned, for Korenix, it's actually based in Taiwan. So we have our own factory there. As part of Korenix's product offering, we have a lot of data communication products within the portfolio. So the ones that we will be showing today is just a small fragment of what we can provide as a company to all of you who's here in the webinar, or everyone else who will be watching later in this case. So like I mentioned, Korenix manufactures 100% of the products in Taiwan. And then it also, what we also do is we test 100% of all the products before shipping. And then there are 5 years, up to 5 years warranty on most of the products that we sell, of course. And that is including when you buy it from Beijer Electronics in Sweden as well. So for RMA, we actually have the dedicated RMA repairing facility in Taiwan right now. But we are in the works of actually bringing some of the service of the RMA here into Sweden, Malmö, Sweden itself as well. So when that comes, that will actually also help improve the turnover time in RMA for the customers we have in Europe itself in this case. So from what I have understood from Korenix, the global RMA rates that we have right now is actually between it's below 0.8% in this case. So next we'll be moving forward in terms of product highlights. So we will be talking about the products that we are actually using with Hexatronics in their projects. So the first one that I'll be talking is actually one of the latest product that we have released from Korenix. It is actually the JetNet 5208. As Jawad showed it in his box just now, in the Hexatronics box just now. It is actually one of the smallest product that we have come up in terms of managed switches. The size of it is only about 54 mm by 135 mm in this case. Bear in mind, this product actually comes with several different variants itself. That one of the variants is actually Ultra PoE. That means per port it can actually support up to 90 watt of power in this case. So this is truly a very small and powerful device if you are looking at it that way in this case. And we have different variations of this product as well. Next, to support customers with more port counts, we also have different products that actually have more ports in this case, ranging from 2-port fiber combo ports to also 4-port fiber in our selection as well. In this case, all these products actually has the same different variants that actually go up to 90 watt PoE. So regardless of if you need to only power a couple of devices that is using 90 watt, or if you have up to 8 devices that you need 90 watt power on, we do have the right products for you to actually power all your devices in this case. And all these products are actually robustly built, and also it can actually work from -40 to 75 degrees, in this case 74 degrees, sorry. So it is a truly robust product that we have built here together with Korenix in this case. And we have a wide range of different industrial certification and approval ready on these products for all your needs. So besides managed switches, and of course, we do have our unmanaged switches as well as media converters that we can provide to the smaller boxes that Jawad has showed just now, in this case the enclosures. So for switches, for the unmanaged device, we actually helped Jawad selected a couple of products that we felt that was most applicable for the projects in this case. So the unmanaged switch, we have the 1 fiber and also 4 PoE ports switches. and also the single one-to-one media converter that we have that goes up to 90 watt PoE as well in this case. So we do have everything that you need in terms of PoE covered in our portfolio. So moving forward, I would like to reiterate how small this product is, because I understand, like, when I talked about the size being at 54 mm by 135 mm, it's a little bit hard to imagine in this case. So I actually got my colleagues in Taiwan to actually help me take a photo of how small actually this unit is. So it's actually very close. It's just slightly larger than a kind of soft drink that you get globally, and that itself can provide up to 90 watt of power per port. So to me, that is actually quite a wonderfully built piece of machinery. So the next things that we'll talk about is, of course, value-adding features. So the product is excellent, but why should you get a product from us if it's just good hardware? Of course, it comes with different features that actually help you or your end users to work on, or even have better peace of mind in this case. So looking at the value adding features, the number one thing that we can talk about is having the managed switches. Besides having the different industrial certifications that we have, we also have the security and also have the layer 2 and layer 3 functionalities built in. So if your customers is significantly more interested in cybersecurity, we do have those features built into the switches for you to use in this case. And of course, being industrial data communication products, and like Jawad mentioned, where redundancy is very important in certain projects, the Korenix managed switches actually helps to work together with the InOne solution to provide a flexible solution, whether your customer needs a what kind of topology, being a ring or a bus or a tree topology. And Korenix has many different type of ring standards that you can actually use from. In this case, with the Korenix MSR, which has a recovery rate of 0.5 milliseconds and a linked update rate of 0 seconds in this case. And besides that, we do also support the ERPS version 1 and version 2, which are industrial and commercially recognized ring protocols, which are widely used by Cisco and other companies as well in this case. So why is having all this ring support critical for this kind of application? Because like Jawad said, sometimes you need to install it in a data center. Customers might already have the switches that they have selected back right into their data centers in their server room. So those would probably be commercial switches like Cisco. And then when you want to implement a ring together with them, it's always good to actually have a provider for you to actually have the right protocols to actually work with companies like Cisco and other companies as well in this case. So besides the ring features that we actually have built-in PoE management switches features as well. So there will be 3 types of features that I'll be talking today. Number one is actually the power management in terms of predictability. So like I mentioned, so let's say per port, when you configure a Korenix managed switch or PoE, you can actually decide what kind of critical level that port is powering on that device. So for example, an IP phone versus a security camera, in this case, the security camera's critical level might be higher, so you can actually make it the highest critical. What will happen if there is a unexpected drop in power supply and there's not enough energy to support both the camera and the phone? What they will do, they will actually power down the port that is powering the phone, and then ensure that you always have power on the critical items in this case. The next feature that we have is actually the scheduling part, where you can actually schedule the ports to be powered on and powered off by a very easy scheduler like you see in the screen right now in this case. So basically you just select which time time period you read it on, which time period you read it off, in this case. So it's quite intuitive to actually set. So those are easier for you to manage all the different ports. And the last one we actually have is a patent pending technology, where we actually check, communicate with the PoE device. So when a PoE device is connected, it always checks whether it will actually send out a communication protocol saying that what kind of device this is, how much energy I'm supposed to be delivered to me. All this information is actually exchanged between the switch and the device itself. So what Korenix actually implemented is it has implemented this feature where when you turn it on, it will actually periodically check with the device if it's still alive with that same communication protocol that is built for PoE communication in this case. So when there is a chance that your device fails, it hangs, although it's still powered, but then it's not functioning correctly in this case. That means that there's a high chance that when the packet is sent to the device itself will not reply, and then the feature will take over depending on what you said. You might try a few more times, and then in the end you actually power down the port and then power back up the port to actually try to wake the device back up in this case. So if you have this kind of cases where you had a PoE device where you have it malfunction and you had to send one of your service guys down driving few 50, 60 kilometers or even hundreds of kilometers down just to check whether its device is alive, this feature will definitely help you in the long run, because this will cut down on all this additional maintenance costs as well in this case. So the last one, the features I'll talk about would be from unmanaged switches and also the fiber optic converters that we have in this case. Being unmanaged doesn't mean that it's not some intelligence in some sense. So the switches that we actually are highlighting today actually comes with certain bits of intelligence built into it. So the first one that I'll talk about is actually the JetNet 3250 series. That itself actually has a broadcast storm filter actually built in to that switch itself, even though it's unmanaged. This is actually usually a managed switch only feature that you get. So with this unmanaged product, you still get the same protection feature from the broadcast storm using this switch. So what is the switch actually doing? So there are cases where customers' devices malfunction and starts sending broadcast packets to the switch. And if that is the case, an unmanaged switch, when it receives way too much broadcast packets that it can handle, what it will do is actually basically stop accepting packets or even stop working at all. So that will actually stop your network from working and all your camera feeds will go down. What protection does is actually, it will actually limit per port of up to 25% of the connection speed itself. Therefore, the switch will still be able to continue to work without any issues in this case. The next one we'll talk about the fiber optic converters is actually the link loss forwarding. So a lot of times when you have an unmanaged converter out in the field, what happens if the end device suddenly stop working or the connections actually stop, break, like the last 50 meters of the Ethernet cable actually breaks? What would happen? So what it does is actually, when that connection breaks, it will actually automatically turn off the fiber port that's transmitting back to the central switch or to another managed switch. And when it does that, the managed switch itself can actually be set to know and learn about this loss of connection in this case. So that actually helps a lot in terms of maintenance, as well as cutting down time costs as well in this case. So with that, I'm actually going to end our presentation. So if you have any inquiries regarding our product solutions or any inquiries about anything at all, feel free to reach out to my colleague, Peter. His email is actually on the screen right now in this case. And then I'll hand this back to Joa.
Yes, thanks, Rico. Lots of nice details. We're actually very proud of the collaboration that we have done between Hexatronic and the Beijer group, between the InOne and the Korenix switch. Let's start looking at the questions. All right. What is the maximum distance? Yes, in every webinar, this is the most common question that we get. The maximum distance is, it is no simple answer to that. The distance depends on the load of the devices, the type of cable we use, and lots of other parameters on the network topology as well. This is why we have done the calculation tool. But just to give you an idea, if you have like, we talked a lot about CCTV today. If you have like an 18-watt camera CCTV, you can, with our standard cable, you can connect it up to 7 kilometers. With a new, larger cable, you can double that distance. Now, if you have a bigger camera or you have more devices, of course, you have to make the calculations. So it is best that refer to us. We will help you. We have a pre-sales team that do the design and give you all the power calculations. So please use that feature. Can we use existing ducts? Yeah, I have shown these kind of ducts. But if you have traditional ducts, this is some of the traditional ducts in different sizes. Yeah, you can pull the cables inside them. Many of our customers that have existing infrastructure, or they're not familiar with the blowing technique, they use traditional ducts. So that is perfectly okay. We are using 4K cams with the jumbo frames. Do you support that? From a fiber optic perspective, you have that, but Joel, that's your territory.
Sorry.
Yes.
I jumped the gun too early.
No, go ahead.
Our switches do support jumbo frames, so there will be no problem with that being said in this case.
Okay, thanks, Rico. Let's see the next one. Good questions. I'm quite happy that I look here at the number of participants, and we have more people after 48 minutes than we started with. That's a good sign. So thank you all for giving us the time. The next question, can the solution be used for expanding existing? Yes. Some customers have already deployed the network with the traditional deployment with AC and DC, and can they expand with the InOne? The question is yes, actually we have a customer that have done that, and then they probably branch out and they use that leg to connect an InOne system. And when you have AC out in the network, you don't need to bring the InOne cable all the way to the data center. You can actually have it out from the access part of the network. So the question, of course, it's a design issue, but the general question is yes. How about interference if we want to use it with rail? Yes, we have received a couple of inquiries. We're working, I think I can say, we're working with a system integrator that is presenting the solution to the one of the rail companies in Europe, and this question was brought up. Now, the fiber optic, there is no interference between the optical and the electrical, so that's not a problem. But does the DC cable have any interference with high power, sometimes 4K volts? And I had discussion with product management, and they're going to use shielded ducts to do that. We have presented that to the consultant, and we hope that we get an approval on that. But I mean, if you have a specific requirement like that, please bring it to us, and the product management, they have wide experience in different kind of deployments, so we can actually check that. How is the power connected in a ring? Yes, good question. When you connect the cable in a ring, you can actually connect both, because this is DC, and DC depends on floating voltage. You're able to connect it in a ring. We have, I don't know if I should switch the camera again, but we have in the cabinet, we also have an N+1 power model for redundancy, so you can connect the two different cables to this one, and it manages the loads. And as you would expect from a ring topology, then if there is a cable cut, you feed the first part of the network from this side of the ring, and then the other part of the network from the other side of the ring. Good interactions. Have you IoT references? Actually, we have a case, for example, in Sweden, where we got a requirement from a system integrator where they want to use the InOne for LoRa base stations up in the north. But there are some of our defense customers, they actually, after we have presented the InOne solution and they have tried it with a project, we get requirements that they don't tell us the application, what they're using it for confidentiality reasons. So I think the InOne is installed in, is used in many applications that we might not be aware of, because the customers don't always tell us the applications. So not so much as known references that we can share at the moment. Yes, you can get a recording of the webinar. We'll share the recording right after the session, hopefully this evening, maximum tomorrow morning. What are the maximum number of port switches? I mean, from our perspective, from an InOne perspective, it's about the form factor of the switch and does it fit physically inside the cabinet. This is one factor. But the other factor is how much power is being utilized. Today, we have a model that supports a total power budget of 150 watts. But we're introducing a new model that we can bring that up to 300 watts and 400 watts. So it's two things that you need to consider. But Rico, from your perspective, you almost know the sizes that can fit and the form factor. Can we have a 10-port? I think we can have a 10-port switch.
Yeah, I think so far what we have is up to 12 that we can fit in the solution that we have.
Yeah, up to 12. And there was that customer that we fitted the layer 3 switch. I think that was 4 SFPs, and I think that was 10 ports or
16.
So
yeah, 16 ports.
I remember that was the limit. It couldn't have been 10 millimeters bigger. 10, 12 ports, I think, is the limit. I hope that answers your question. I also received a couple of questions in the chat that I cannot bring up to the screen. So let me look at it. Does Korenix switches have marine approval? Rico, that's your...
Okay. No, but it's actually currently being worked on. So right now we are actually in the phase of studying the different switches for DNV approval. So that is actually in the pipeline to be ready, hopefully to be ready within a year or slightly earlier. I can't give any promises right now.
Yeah. One more question that came in the chat. If I understand correct, you have a UPS AC, AC-AC, and then power supply AC-DC. Why don't, yeah, good question. Why don't you use a power supply with a UPS inside? Okay, I understand the question. It's a good question. The reason, I mean, when we started, we're not, I mean, the UPS is usually third party. And depending on the customer situation, I mean, many of our customers are not using the UPS in this way. Some of them are having direct AC with diesel generators, so it's different requirements. This is something that we have been looking at, but your point is quite valid, and it's probably something that we will eventually do, but not at the moment. But very valid question. Thank you. Then I also, it doesn't click with more questions here. I have one more question that I cannot bring up to the screen. What length are supplied for the InOne cable? We're the cable manufacturers. We can, if the customer have special requirement, we can have it in different lengths. But standard, we do 2,000 meters drums. Same thing with the ducts. We do standard is 2,000 meters. Now some customers, they want preferred cut lengths, so they can handle small drums. So we can deliver that also to the order. Also some customers require longer cables. That's a custom order, and I know that it's been done in the past, so hopefully we can also do it in the future. I don't see any more questions. Is it anything that Peter or Jan you want to add before we conclude? Unless, I think we have one more question. Hold on one second. How do we get connector on the glass fiber? The fiber, you need to splice it. So on both ends of the fiber, you need to splice it to a pigtail and then connect it to the switch and the ODF. So you need a fiber technician to splice the fiber. But what we are working on, but this is not ready yet. We're working on this kind of connectors. This is a quick connect. So you don't need to do the splicing. This has both the power, this is the fiber, and on this side it's the power. I can bring it closer if you see it better. And the idea is that you plug this on the cabinet. We're going to have different variances of this. We're going to have, this is plastic, but we're going to have metal one that is more tactical, military standard. So it depends if you just want a quick connect for the quick installation, or you want a ruggedized solution for some of the industrial applications. So this is a sample, but it is something that we're working with. And in the Hexatronic group, we have a company called Tech Optics in the UK that are specialized in ruggedized and quick connectors. So all the development, we're doing it within the group. One last comment. Very nice solution. The connector. Yes, I agree with you. Help me. I mean, bring in more customer requests. It will help me push product management to speed up the development for this. We're exactly on the hour, perfect timing. So I thank you all, and I leave the stage to Peter or Jan if you want to say something before we conclude.
I'd just like to thank you all for an excellent presentation, Javad, Rico, and Peter. I've been a silent supporter up until now, but I'm really happy to engage with any customer there or partners that would like to come forward and work on the InOne solution together with us. So yeah. Thank you all.
Peter?
Yes, thank you as well. I think this is a very interesting product. I'm happy actually to be part of it through Korenix. And I also see there's a lot of opportunities how to use this product. So thank you from my side as well.
Yes, and for all of you, I mean, this demo facility on our website, hexatronic.com/InOne, you can actually book it for one-to-one meeting, or for any of you that is a system integrator and would like to present this solution to the customer, you can book this demo, and one of us will be here to help you with your customer visits. Also, you will get a recorded file of this webinar that you can share with your colleagues and customer. And last, thank you all for your time. It's been overwhelming with the people that have overwhelmed with joy with all the people that have attended. Thank you for your time. I know that your time is valuable. I'm glad that you came and you have stayed to the end, and hope to hear from you soon.